see you. Welcome, everyone. We are live, and it's a beautiful Friday. It's glorious. Glorious. What are we saying today? Loyalty. Are you loyal? Listen, last night's lecture hit me like really hard on so many levels. I slept so well. And I always tell you guys, when you are forming a habit, you do the same thing the same way every time. Now, I go live every night at 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And do you know, my body, before even 10:45 p.m., like by 10:30, 10:25, I'm yawning. My body's like, oh, it's time for sleeping, because that's what we do. We read the bedtime lecture. So I said, and it's the same thing at 7:35 Eastern in the morning. I'm wide awake and I'm ready to go. And I said, okay, loyalty is required. How so? I've just made it very easy for myself to be loyal. You understand why? Because I do something the same way every day for the same amount of time. So now the man in the lecture, he wanted something. And so every night for 2 weeks, he did what Neville Goddard told him to do. He got into his imagination and he saw it over and over again. He saw it. And after 2 weeks, nothing changed. And this man said to himself, oh, I must be just as mad as Neville is. But you know what he did? He continued. And he did it. And he did it. And he did it. And bam! His life changed. Within an extra 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, his life changed. And that was the first time he put it into practice. The second time he put it into practice, the same thing happened, where he felt like, oh my God, am I totally nuts? What am I doing? But he stuck with it. He stayed loyal. And then bam, his life changed again. You see, the reason I'm asking you if you are loyal, not loyal unwittingly, meaning that we, like, if you smoke or you do something, you're compelled to do it. And that's unwittingly because you formed a habit. And you just formed that habit out of necessity, out of whatever reasoning. But loyalty from a place of being deliberate is considerably different. This man said, and remember, I mentioned it last night. You hear about all these people that Neville helped. And you know, the one common denominator, none of them said, I got to work on my inner child. I got to release my trauma before I can change my life. I got to do this before I can change my life. I got to do that before I can change my life. Not one of them alluded to having to do it. What they did do was remain loyal to their imaginal act. They remained loyal to their deliberate imaginal act. One more time for those in the back. They remained loyal to their imaginal act. Oh, I am sure it was because they didn't have TV the way we do. They didn't have the internet the way we do. I am sure you can think that that is part of their contributing factor for their success. But listen to their attitude. The man said, Neville, I thought you were mad when you suggested that I imagine the way my life should be. But I did it, and I imagined it just the way I wanted it to be. Over and over and over and over and over again. And within 2 to 3 weeks, this man changed his life. He's not the first one that did it. Remember the woman who, she was the creative director, so she did all the costumes and such. And her boss, he would just nitpick at everything she did. He was like, "Ugh, that's gross. How did you make that? It's horrible." So she came to one of Neville's lectures. And Neville said to her, "You are arguing with your boss every day in your head." She's like, "Oh my God, how do you know?" And Neville said, "Because you're arguing with him in real life. But you don't know that that's what you're doing." So he said to her, "Whenever you're walking to work in the morning and you think about your boss, hear him congratulate you on your beautiful work. Hear him congratulate you on your beautiful work every day that you walk to work." Now, in this particular lecture, it said it took her a few weeks. It did not say how long of weeks. It just said it took her a few weeks. Every morning that she walked to work, she would hear her boss say, "Wow, your work is amazing. Wow, your work is amazing." That is all she heard in her head as she walked to work. Now, I am sure because she's human, she thought, "Oh my God, I'm crazy. This is never going to work." I'm sure she thought that. But you know what she didn't do? She didn't stop doing it. It also did not elude, it didn't say that she went back to Neville and said, "It doesn't work." She did not do that. She walked to work every morning as was her habit to do, because that's how she got to work. She didn't drive, she didn't take the train, she didn't take the bus, she walked. So every time she walked to work and she thought of her boss, she heard, instead of, "Oh, this is atrocious," she heard, "Wow, your work is amazing." Simple, short phrase. That is all she heard in her head. And do you want to guess what happened? She got to work one morning and her boss came out with one of her costumes and said, "Wow, your work is amazing." And ever since that day, he did not nitpick or henpeck at her work. He simply praised the work that she did. So, what is it that you are loyal to? Hmm? You say you want your life to change. You want this job. The man, he did it again. He wanted a new job. And as he was at work in his old job, he was bored, he said. He was bored while he was at work. So he sat there and he was like, and he imagined that he had a new job. Just, just, he just sat at his desk and saw himself in a new position. And would you like to guess what happened? That's right. He had a new one. Same for the man who was driven to work. Every other week they would rotate. One would drive to work and the other would be chauffeured. And the one who was chauffeured, the next week he would drive. But Bob, every time that he was driven to work, he would lean back in the seat and go, "Ugh." I can't stand this bumper to bumper traffic. Ugh, I must have something better than this. Every time he was chauffeured, it didn't tell you how long. All he came back in the letter and said was, my company was letting people go and they sent out a memo. And do you know who the only person was they let go? Me. And he said, but wait, shortly after I was let go, I got the ideal job that I wanted. How did this happen, Neville? Neville said, because every time you drove to work, every time you were driven to work, what did you tell me that you did? You leaned back and said, oh, I would prefer something else. I can't handle this bumper to bumper traffic. So, what is it that you want to change in your life? Here is how you do it. Start with this, but I gotta change my life. I gotta fix my trauma. I gotta fix this. I gotta fix that. No, when you remain loyal, that's how you fix it. Shit. When you remain loyal, that is how you actually fix yourself. I'm going to tell you one more time. When you remain loyal to your deliberate imaginary act, you change yourself. So, step one is to recognize that you are unhappy with something. You know what it is. I don't know, but you know. I know, and you don't know. I know what mine is, but you don't know. That's step one. You recognize what you're unhappy doing. Step two, deliberately choose what you would prefer instead. So remember, if you are not employed, do you want to be employed? Fine. Then what do you want from this employment? You want to feel great going to work. You want to love that job. You want to love the people in the job, right? You want that. And the pay, bam, on the money. You know you want that. So what would you do if that was what you got? That ideal job, the right amount of pay, great coworkers, great location. What would you do? What's the first thing you would do if that's what you got? Would you say, oh my God, this really works? Is that what you would say? Would you call somebody and say, oh, girl, you wouldn't believe it. Whatever that thing is that if you would do the running man, if you would jump up and down and shriek and say, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, if that is what you would do, because it's natural for you, right? That's why I'm saying, do the thing that comes natural to you. What would you do naturally? What's the first thing you would do? Spend some time pondering that. And when you get it down, if you know you would do the running man, well then, do the running man in your mind's eye. For how long? Well, I don't know. I don't know how long. That's not your job. Your job is to plant the seed. So every night as you go to bed, do the running man in your mind's eye. Because when you're doing the running man, you are telling yourself, this action confirms that I got what I wanted. If you would jump up and down and go, oh my God, oh my God, then every night as you are laying there, getting ready for bed, do that in your mind's eye. If you would pick up the phone and call your bestie and say, oh my God. Or if you would hear your bestie say, get out, You got to show me how to do it. You notice how they're all short, sweet, and they confirm and they're to the point? That's what you do. So every night you do it. Do not ask me how long, because I don't know. I can tell you that bamboo takes 4 years to sprout because somebody sat there and figured it out. I can tell you that lettuce takes about a week before it sprouts because I've seen it. But for this, however long it takes is dependent upon a certain amount of factors. One being, are you loyal to that imaginal act? Not loyal for 20 minutes and then for the other 23 and some odd hours throughout the day, you're not. Neville says you can make things happen in an instant. Right? So if you are loyal to your deliberate, imaginative act, remember how cause and effect work. You're the cause now. And so the thing that you're doing, the effect could be just right there. Like the parking stall, or you just quote unquote happen to be walking down the street and somebody calls your name or says, hey. It just so matters where and what you're doing. Just remain loyal. And I know some people don't. Remain loyal. That's what he says. I hear you, baby. And I know some people say, oh my God, I totally hate hearing that. I hate it when people say they don't know when it's going to happen. Just be faithful to it. Just be loyal to it. I hate hearing that. It's such a cop-out. It's such a Jesus clause, right? Do you know how long that you've been doing something unwittingly? You don't know. You just go through the day and you do it. But something happens and you go, oh my God, why did that happen to me? You haven't paid attention to see how long you were doing that. So the encouragement is this. You recognize where you are unhappy, and then you deliberately choose where you would prefer your happiness to be. And when you choose where you want your happiness to be, now you come up with something that you would do naturally to celebrate or to confirm that you have accomplished this task. So again, if you would do the running man, if you would shriek and holler, if you would call somebody and say, you will never believe it, whatever comes naturally for you to celebrate your accomplishment, then do that. And every night, as you are falling asleep, do it in your mind's eye. You're not watching yourself on a screen. You'd be like the dancer. A dancer is in the mirror. What is the dancer doing in the mirror? Dancing, but doing what? Watching himself dance. So he's 100% engaged in the activity that he's doing, the dancer. So when you're doing the running man or you're shrieking, you're not just doing it because you're watching yourself on the screen. Nah, you are fully engaged in the act itself. Like the dancer has to move his body so he can see his movement in the mirror, so he can audit his movement to say, let me get this right. Let me get that right. So you watch yourself do it. You're doing two things. Three things. You're fully engaged in the activity that you're doing, but you're also watching yourself do it as if you were the dancer in the mirror. Hear what I'm saying? So do that night after night after night, and don't you dare. I know you'd be tempted, because we're human and we'll be tempted. You'd be tempted to look at your watch and go, are we there yet? I don't have it yet. My bank account's still low. I don't know. Maybe I'm nuts. Remember the man. Remember the man from the lecture. After 2 weeks and he didn't see anything change, he said to himself, I must be just as mad as Neville. because my life hasn't changed. But you know what he didn't do? He didn't throw in the towel. He didn't give up. He continued. And because he was loyal to his imaginal act, 3 weeks later, there he was with his brand new job, with the pay he wanted. He did not give up, and he did not cuss anybody out to say, this stuff is mumbo jumbo, it doesn't work. No, he remained loyal. Now, the reason why we remain loyal is because we love it. Well, how do you know? Because you want to see if it works or not. So you remain loyal. You don't sit around and doubt yourself, because when you sit around and doubt yourself, you are remaining loyal to that. And what happens when you deliberately doubt yourself? You see the evidence of what you believe. You understand it? You see the evidence of what you believe. So the encouragement for us is loyalty to your imaginal act, to your deliberate imaginal act. That is what we do. Remain loyal to it. You understand? That's why you choose something that you would do naturally, because it's just your personality. That's what you would do. I know my son. I know what he would have to say. I know how he would say it. I know what words he would use. So I would hear him say that to me, because then that would be confirmation for me. I know what my father would say. I know what my mother would say. So I hear them telling it to me, because naturally that's what I do. So what do you do naturally? Because that's what will help you to stay loyal to your deliberate imaginal act. Now, let me remind you, you do not have to relinquish 30 years of trauma before you can experience your deliberate act. Well, why not? Because you are already experiencing your unwitting act as you carry your 30 years of trauma. But here's the beauty of the principles. Here's the beauty of the law. When you remain loyal to your deliberate act, you will automatically let go of your trauma. Do you know why you'll let go of it? Because you will see the evidence of what you are capable of, and it will overshadow your trauma. Do you know why it overshadows your trauma? Because you're thinking about your trauma and you're like, oh my God, this has been with me my whole life. And you are thinking from there, you are living from there. But the moment that you deliberately do something and you see how powerful you are, well, then what power does your trauma have over you? None. And that's why you'll let it go. But you see, we want to let go of things by looking at them. When you look at it, you're holding it. When you are looking at it, you're holding it. When you are giving something your attention, you have it in the palm of your hands. Then you are giving something your attention. It is in the palm of your hand. It is the apple of your eye, honey, because you're looking at it. So this is why you give your attention to the thing that you want to experience instead. So the scientists will continually tell you that energy flows where attention goes. That's what they call it. That's the phrase that science has coined. Energy goes where energy flows where attention goes. So to give something your attention, you've got to be thinking about it, looking at it, touching it. It's right there. So you're giving it your full attention. So what do you expect you will experience? The thing that you have given your attention to. So that is why if you deliberately give your attention to that small, simple act, that little tiny thing, if you give your attention 100% there, what do you think is going to happen? Well, you'll experience it. And the longer you keep it there, you see, the reason why you do it at night when you're falling asleep, that is the time you are most open to suggestion. There's no resistance. None. There isn't any resistance. You're groggy, the body is heavy, and there's no real fight in you. You're just nice and at ease and relaxed. That's when you do it. You see, because when we're up and about like we are right now, there's this thing. It is called the analytical mind, the critical thinking mind, that would say to you, yeah, but that stuff don't work. That stuff doesn't work. You have to fight that. But when you're falling asleep, that's the part of you that is falling asleep. It doesn't fight you because it's not the one in control now. It's not ever the one that's really in control. Always, as they tell you, it's the subconscious mind that is in control. And so that's the part that comes up at night. It comes up at night and it waits for your command. This is why if you go to bed and you're angry, you're persnickety, you're fretting, you're worried, you're panicked, if you do that before you go to bed, your subconscious mind says, as you wish. And it takes those seeds and plants them so that tomorrow when you get up, you are greeted with what you went to bed with. So if you are greeted with what you go to bed with, whether you are paying attention or not, if you know that you are going to be greeted with what you go to bed with, then your power lies in the choice of what you go to bed with, because you're going to wake up with it, because that is our nature. So when the Bible tells you don't let the sun go down on your anger, that is what it's saying. Do not go to bed in an undesirable state, because you will have to meet that undesirable state in the morning when you get up. So if that's what's going to happen, your power then is to choose what you will take to bed with you, so that that's what you will get up with in the morning. Neville Goddard puts it this way. He says, sleep is like a lover, and you enter into your secret bedchamber with your lover. Who are you going to take in there with you? Do you hear what it is? So this is why when you go to bed at night, be deliberate about that thing you will imagine. That is what you're doing night after night after night after night. And it is, listen, I know science likes to call it the subconscious mind, but it is your awareness, it is your consciousness altogether, because there's only one consciousness. So that thing that you are keenly aware of as you fall asleep, that is what you are identifying yourself as. When you say, I am, that's what you're falling asleep as. That is your awareness. That is your consciousness. That is who you are. So when you put your head on your pillow, remember, you have recognized what makes you unhappy. You can see it, yes? Step 2, you're now going to decide deliberately what you would prefer in its stead. What would you rather have? So if it is, oh my God, I need a new job, you might not know the title of your job, but how would you react? How would the person closest to you react if you had it? Who would you call to tell? And how would you say it? Oh my God, I got it, I got it. Or how did the universe know? I didn't even know that that would have made a difference. But wow, you would feel a sense of whatever that is. If that's what you would do naturally, if you would be, meh, I expected it to happen anyway. If that's you and what you would do naturally, then that is what you fall asleep with. And you use it like a lullaby. Same thing over and over. Oh, wow. And you'll feel it as you're doing it. Oh, wow. And the more you say it, the longer you say it, the more tired you get, the more sleepy you get, until you surrender to sleep. And you know, because you have surrendered in that state, then come morning, something has taken root. And you will begin to see the evidence of it in your world. So that is your message for you today. Stay loyal to your deliberate imaginary act. Why? Because you are already staying loyal to your non-deliberate imaginal act. How do I know that you're staying loyal to it? Same way I know that I'm staying loyal to it. Because I get to live it every day and go, oh my God. This is still happening. Why is this still happening to me? Because I am loyal to that imaginary act. So until I become loyal to the new imaginary act, I cannot see the evidence. And let me remind you, you don't have to change to accomplish your task. You don't have to change your what's the word? I mentioned trauma before. You don't have to heal your inner child. You don't have to do all of that. You just have to remain loyal to the imaginary act. And when you experience the fulfillment of your deliberate imaginary act, you will have done more to heal yourself in that short span of time than 30 years of therapy. Don't come for me. Why? Nothing is wrong with therapy at all. Because if you use it correctly, you'll begin to see what it is you're doing day in and day out. Well, you'll see it. But therapy keeps you focused on what? Fighting the old. And what happens? Energy flows where attention goes. Don't come for me. Examine what I'm saying to you. Look for the evidence and you'll see it. So Neville is saying to you, if you want to change your life, where do you want to change it? Do you want reconciliation in your family? Well, then, what's the first thing that you would do if you had reconciliation in your family? What's the first thing you would do? What's the first thing you would say? I know every time that I do it and my son changes, I know my first thing is this invasion of the body snatchers? Because he's a completely different person. And I'm like, this has got to be invasion of the body snatchers. Like, what? He's a completely different child. So I know me, I know what I say. But what do you say? You want that reconciliation. You want to be able to get up in the morning and face the day and live your best life and not have to drag your past with you. Well, then, what would you do naturally if you realized that you weren't dragging the past with you? You weren't always cussing somebody out in your mind's eye. What would that be like for you? Well, then, deliberately imagine that every night. Just that short little scene. Why? Because what are you doing? Every day you are recalling some kind of conversation that reminds you you're dragging that thing through life with you. I dare you to tell me otherwise. Because I understand. You think I don't drag things with me? But every time I catch myself dragging it, I say, girl, what you doing? What are you loyal to? And then you're going to complain about, oh my God. That's exactly how I say it to myself. And I say it like this. Oh, and then you want to have the audacity to complain that nothing is changing in this friendship, huh? I wonder why. Well, stop arguing in your head, heifer. That's what I say to myself. And then I choose what I want to have as a reaction instead. I want to say something different. So I hear it in my mind's eye, or I see them in my mind's eye differently. So, what are you remaining loyal to? You see? Look at it. Look at it. What are you remaining loyal to? What kind of conversation, what kind of behavior are you remaining loyal to? Well, then, choose a different behavior, a different way of speaking in your mind's eye, because that's where it all happens, in your mind's eye, in your imagination. Choose it by way of what comes natural for you, your personality. Just choose it. And it'll make you feel good, you know. At first, you're like, that's not real. But stay loyal. Mm? And test yourself. Test yourself. And when you see it change, let me tell you something. Neville describes it as a thrill. He says it's such a thrill. When you realize what you've done deliberately. Yes, do that. Stay loyal to that. You notice how your present situation, you're not asking, how long is this going to be here? You're not actually asking that. You just get up every day and you live it. So get up every day and live the new one in your mind's eye. And don't ask, how long is it going to take? Don't ask that question, because that's what delays us. Because when you ask how long is it going to take, what are you looking at? You're not looking at what you're doing. You're looking at what you want to escape from. And what? Energy flows where attention goes. Or you can say it in the way of the law, as within, so without. Let us take a brief moment, shall we, to welcome everyone into the space on this lovely Friday. Checkmate, Wisdom Almighty, hey Cyber, and Wealthy Supreme Rico. You are the ones who've made yourselves known in the chat this morning here on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Fan base, who's in the house? Honesty's in the house. Esquire is in the house. Tiffany, darling. Javion. Fawn is here. Flo Smiles is here. Listen, thank you all for being here this morning. I shan't keep us. As you hear the bowl and possible bird song this morning, what is it that you are unhappy with? You know this better than anybody. Can you spot it? You spotted it? Good. Now, what would you prefer instead? I did not ask you if you thought it possible. You don't ask yourself anything about the old way. You don't ask if the old way is possible. You just do it because it is possible. So the new way, identify what you would prefer instead. I'm walking you through this. So don't call me and tell me, Angela, I need more coaching. Don't call me and tell me that. I could take your money. I could. But identify the problem. Example. I would like a new relationship. I would like a new car. I would like a new job. I'd like more money in the bank. Identify your problem. Step 2. What would you prefer? Well, you just said what the problem was, right? So what would you prefer? A better relationship? Okay. More money in the bank? Yes. A new job? Yes, I'll take it. Okay, that's the solution. So, step 3. What would you do if it was true? What would you say? What's the first thing you would do? Who's the first person you would call? What would you naturally do? You got that part? Good. And you notice how it's nothing long and drawn out. It's just a little tiny thing. Oh my God. You'll never guess. Oh my God, what a coincidence. Whatever that little tiny thing is according to your personality. That's what you would do. Good. You got that? Now, you notice it makes you feel kind of tingly, right? Good. Run with that. So tonight, which is step 4, as you are falling asleep, imagine it in your mind's eye. But you notice you're the one doing it. You're not watching George do it. Because if you watch George do it, it'll happen to George. You are the dancer in the mirror. You are watching yourself dance. So that means you're watching yourself do the action. But you have to do the action. So in your mind's eye, as you're falling asleep, oh my God, you'll never guess what happened. Just that little tiny phrase. Or you could hear congratulations. But Neville says if you can't hear it or you can't see it, but you would naturally say thank you, wouldn't you? Or some people would say, won't he do it? Won't he do it? If that is your personality, then you are falling asleep and you say to yourself, whenever I say this phrase, I have accomplished what it is I wanted. And you say, oh, won't he do it? You feel that sense of accomplishment because that's what you would say. Won't he do it? Hallelujah. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Lord. If that is your personality and that's what you would do, then fall asleep in that mood. Don't ask me how long or how many nights. That is dependent upon your level and intensity of loyalty to the imaginal act. And step 5, slide into my DMs and I'll celebrate with you. And we'll have a testimonial. I just gave you step 1 through 5. And it works for everything. You got that knee pain. You got the shoulder pain. You got them allergies. Same principle applies. What is the first thing you would do if you didn't have that problem? Would you be like Rocky and run up those stairs? Well then, see yourself at the top of the stairs with your hands in the air just like Rocky. Adrian! I digress. But you get what I'm saying. It doesn't matter what you want it to fix. Determine the solution and it is yours. So then you hear the bowl and bird song this morning. You got bird song right on cue. Let me get the bowl. You know what you're doing in that time. And if you're at the red light and you're waiting, that's a great time to do it. Do you know why? Because you're in the same state as if you're falling asleep. Oh, whoa. Mm. Mm. Well, you're driving the same route every day. You think you're driving it deliberately? Oh yeah, because you got to go to work, but that route is driven for you because you drive it every day. You're driving it out of habit. So anytime you engage the habit, you are in a state of ease and relaxation, y'all. This rooster just got closer to the door so he could holler a little harder. Anyway, let me get the bowl. And as you hear the bowl and bird song, play out that little tiny scene. Just that little tiny. Stay loyal. We always hear, these hoes ain't loyal. That's what we hear all the time in these streets. Listen, practice your loyalty. Let me get the bowl for us. I am Amani. Let me get the bowl for us. Let's get the bowl. For real, he is. My baby's at the door. Okay, I'm going. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you all for being here. It is truly appreciated. You're welcome, darling Esquire. You're welcome. Just a reminder, Thursday, June the 27th at noon Eastern Standard Time is that Lunch and Learn workshop. I put up a link in my LINKTREE where you can get a deck of cards and attend at a discounted price. Check it out. Because the first batch of 60 cards are gone. They are already gone. They're spoken for. So we're on the second printing now. So let's get to 60. But you don't have to get that one. There's 2 options. You can attend just with attending, or you can attend and get a deck. So totally up to you. But that workshop is important to be at so that we can implement these particular exercises. And it's not, like I said, it's not a long workshop. It's a lunch and learn. So come on out to that and you'll learn something there for sure. Plus you get the ebook. Yeah, you get the ebook as well. Anywho, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, slide into my DMs and definitely I'll respond. Yeah. So we have the last lecture tonight, 10:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because it's the weekend. We just flow into the weekend, but I haven't chosen it yet, so I don't know what it will be. But I'm sure it'll be lit like it always is. All right then, y'all. Much love to you. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter fan base.